Hello, this is Training Chief Fred Burris. This video is intended to be a supplement to materials contained in the training manual and materials that were provided in the Wildland Refresher RT130 2013. Those materials are contained in the training documents folder on the FireNet. Begin to construct the pack by gathering the materials needed: the 100 foot of 1.5 inch, 100 foot of inch, the Y with the reducer, and the 1 inch nozzle. Either black bag will work. The hose should be rolled and have all the air out of it. That will help the pack be compact and easy to build. Start with putting your nozzle on the 1 inch and close the nozzle. Go ahead and connect the other female fitting from the 1 inch onto the Y, and this will keep the air out while you're building it. So in this case, you see the first we're showing just the basic option that's contained in the training manual. It's the coil folded in half, and in this case we're going to load the Y on the bottom of the trunk section of the pack and just flat load the hose back and forth across the Y. Helps to have your hose laid out in front of you as you're building the pack. This helps it to pay into the pack as you build your flat load. There's a completed pack with the coil and the trunk line ready for deployment. So another option here is where a very large coil is built and it's folded into an S shape at the end rather than just folded in half into that horseshoe shape. So the captain here, Captain Harvey, is going to start with a 4 to 4.5 foot inner diameter on the coil. The benefit of this is the coil will then be folded into an S shape, but the large diameter allows the coil to inflate easily when you're charging the line with water. And this is roughly the same dimension as the folded in half coil, and it drops into the pack very nice. They're tying it off one half at a time. They'll bring the other half over and tie it to the bend in the other half. 51 has also made a jig, so when you're building packs in the station, they have a jig that's the appropriate size and rolls the hose nicely and gets all the air out of it. So this is good to keep all of your 1 inch stored into the coil to expedite recovery when you return to the station and have to make packs again. So after the hose is rolled, they're going to pull it off the jig and get it to the ground. You get a little better view here of them building the large coil. It's going to start by grabbing the nozzle and folding the hose around the nozzle, forming the first part of the S. It's going to go ahead and glue that together, bring the other half down, fold it back on over, and form the other part, the top of the S. You can take some of that out for a tail. And notice how it's a little bit out of shape. One part of the S is shorter, and this will allow for the Y to set in the same compartment as the 1 inch on the divided pack. Go ahead and put their string ties across. As you can see now, the coil is in the same compartment, same half of the pack with the Y, and this works good in the divided pack, the new style divided pack. With the older pack, the Y has a potential to fall on top of the trunk as it's paying out, so I recommend that you put the Y in the bottom on the older pack. Again, on this one, the 1.5 inch trunk is just flat loaded back and forth, and this newer style pack, the Mystery Ranch pack, has the divider in it that separates the 1 inch coil from the 1.5 inch trunk. There's the completed pack with the Y on top, the trunk, and the inch separate. Secure the flap and the pack is ready for storage or deployment. There are many options in deploying the pack as they relate to the hose chosen off of the engine, the type of engine, the terrain, the fuels. In this case, the engine's they're going to pull a continuous line off the rear of the engine, which is a great choice because that's your longest line, gives you the most distance off of the engine. It's always best to get as much hose off the engine as you can to increase the length off the engine rather than using your packs, and save your packs for the end of the line. In this case, they're going to go ahead and just pull off some leader line, and they're going to get at least 200 feet out probably 250 feet out, and it'll help them get to the heel of this fire to get it anchored and begin the perimeter control. While the firefighter is getting the hose flaked out, the captain and engineer are getting the packs down. The firefighter dons a pack and heads to the nozzle. The captain's going to go ahead and pull off another 50 feet. And they'll be calling for water. In this case, the captain's got a pack, and he grabbed a third pack that he'll carry as far as he can to get it up the line. They're going to go ahead and charge the line, get anchored in, and begin the perimeter control along the flank. In this case, the fuel is fire simulated to be on the right. As you can see, this would be to indicate the firefighter's able. He has his nozzle slightly angled, kind of angling that fire into the black, blowing any loose material into the black rather than spreading it to the green. So as it turned out, they got about 250 feet out on their 1 3/4. Of course, it was flat here, so they got quite a bit distance before they had to put in a pack. Called out their distance as they become extended. You'll notice the starter pack is carried on the first pack. 51 carries it on the first pack. The captain and the firefighter work together to get the starter pack in. He called for shutdown from the engineer. The firefighter puts the Y onto the end of the initial line and calls for water as soon as possible.
Copy that, water coming.
Want to get that Y charged as soon as possible, then immediately charge the coil and get water to your next line. At this point, the firefighter is ready to advance and continue the perimeter control, and the second firefighter, in this case the captain, is going to go ahead and connect the trunk line up while the firefighter extends the 1-inch wet line and continues the flanking action on the fire. In this example, you can see the engineer is bringing up another pack, and the engineer is going to go ahead and operate the first Y. They call for water to the next Y, and you'll see here that the Y is not really controlled very well, and when it gets charged, it does tend to flip over. So it's important to take that time to stretch that out, put your foot on the Y till it stabilizes. As soon as the Y stabilizes, get that next coil in service. In this case, they're showing that the nozzle can still be used while you're doing this in case you need to knock down any flare-ups. You can see that nice large coil, how easily it inflates. Hands that nozzle off to the second firefighter. Again, that nozzle's ready to go. The other firefighter will take the trunk line, connect it to the Y.
Yeah, 400 feet.
Yeah.
Now, whether you have a backup kind of depends on the fuel. You can leave there's only two of you. One person can stay at the Y to reduce some of the movement back and forth initially. It does work better as soon as 3 people arrive. It does fill all the positions, but if you have just 2 of you, one can stay back. If you need, the second person's needed up to back up, or depending on the terrain or the shape of the line, if it meanders or underslung, that second person can come up and help the trunk pay out. In this case, since there's just 2, the captain's going to go ahead and take the pack off, get the Y out, get the coil out onto the ground, get it in service. The other firefighter has the third pack that the captain brought from the beginning. He's moving up the line after he charges the Y. Captain now has water to the Y again, and he can open his Y to the coil and get that 1-inch line in service. And he's ready to hand it off again to the firefighter who's brought that third pack up, and they just keep repeating the process. As additional packs arrive, the original firefighter can just stay on the nozzle on each pack, and the new pack can just walk the trunk out, and as the coil gets on the ground, the original firefighter can just pick that coil up, get it in service, and continue the flanking action. Again, with the 1-inch nozzle, and any nozzle for that matter, it's important to use good nozzle application. Good, fog stream at the base of the flames is most effective. straight stream to reach out, but above all, conserve water. Use just the minimum amount of water that you need. Again, you can see the pack, the hose does hang up a little bit, and this is where his other members are arriving. They provide backup, really just to tin that hose to have it come out of the pack and make sure it lays in the right place along the line. Okay, so we're all out of trunk line, so in this case, the firefighter is going to go ahead and extend the last 100 feet of 1 inch and get as far as they can until additional packs arrive. He takes time to look at it before he charges it, sees that the strings weren't up. Notice how there's no twists in that tail coming off the Y. Gets that nice big coil open, and he's able to charge that Y immediately. He has control of the nozzle, and all he has to do is get that, open the nozzle up, let some of the air, and the water will start flowing. It's got a little bit of a hang up there, but it's 1 inch, so it's pretty easily to chase that out. In this case, the captain firefighter is going to stay there at the Y and help pay that coil out as it's advancing. You can see it continues on up the line using good nozzle application until they're extended. In this instance, the one engine company 3 members put in 550 feet of hose.